Here is Dr. Fauci back less than a year ago, March of 2020. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask, infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci told 60 Minutes on March 8th, 2020. And now, this is January 25th, so yesterday, Dr. Fauci, double masking makes common sense and is likely more effective. All right. Well, which one is it? Well, some people would say, well, all the science has changed. No, the science hasn't changed. In fact, every single study I've seen that's actually a peer-reviewed, published study has established the same thing that was true back in March and that all these people knew back in March. All right? So the position that we have taken in regards to this subject is basically based upon the same principle enunciated by Alexander Solzhenitsyn years ago when he was about to get kicked out of the Soviet Union. Live not by lies. Live not by lies. That is, all the science that I've been able to find, and I've had a number of people who've tried to challenge me on this, and when I've pushed on them, they've just not been able to push back. All the science I've seen says that if you have an N95 mask fitted for you together with other PPE, such as face shields, booties, gowns, and gloves, together these things can be helpful for individuals in the medical context to not only not spread, but to not have splatter, so on and so forth, in the communication of disease. And these things need to be changed regularly. But that the utilization of non-medical grade materials, non-N95, cotton masks, is not only ineffective, it actually reverses and can be damaging to the individual engaging in the behavior. We've all seen it. Every single one of us has seen it. You've seen the people with the mask down here, gaps on the side. Those things are completely ineffective. They're doing nothing other than catching bacteria and allowing you to then, when you touch it all the time, re-ingest it. They're doing nothing for you whatsoever. They're not protecting you. They're not protecting anybody else. We have medical studies. The CDC in May of 2020 published an article demonstrating that cotton masks over against the N95, cotton masks had a 97% penetration rate, and that those who wore cotton masks had a 40% higher infection rate than the control group. And then we had the wonderful marine experiment, which I thought was just great. If anything illustrates what's going on, this does. The Marines, over 1,000 of them, volunteer, and they wipe everything down, and they disinfect everything, and they had Marine drill sergeants. They brought Sergeant Carter back from the dead. I appreciate the laughter, guys, back there. You don't have to just snort. You can go ahead and laugh. It's all right. We've got the live studio audience now. They brought him back from the dead to make sure that these volunteers are doing everything they're supposed to do, and they double masked them. They double masked them. Just like what you've got now. Double masked them. Military discipline. The Marines, for crying out loud. And the group that they studied with the double masked had a slightly higher infection rate than the control group once again. Live not by lies. These things don't do what they're advertised to do, and in fact, there's a lot of people who believe that they have greatly deleterious effects as well. And so the question really isn't what is the relationship of church and state here. The question is, what is a lie? What if they start saying wear 2 masks? There are already asthmatics that are suffering greatly because, let's be honest, Even though you're supposed to have medical exemptions, no one cares. No one cares a bit about medical exemptions. What are you supposed to do? Put the asthmatic in 2 masks? It's a good way to kill them. They can't survive that. What if they say you need 3? We literally have situations right now where people are saying, even after you get these new vaccines, you'll still have to wear a mask and you'll still have to social distance. So the question then becomes, when are you living according to a lie? When does this simply become a sign of your submission? And what's next? Well, we all know what's next, don't we? Everyone listening to me knows what's next. Anyone with, well, okay, I'll take that back. I think anyone in their heart knows what's next. But there are a lot of people who are unwilling to follow the logic to its conclusion. You know that vaccinations will be made mandatory. They'll be mandatory for travel. They'll be mandatory for schools. They'll be mandatory for employment. They'll be mandatory to do anything in culture. And there are already a number of Western states and Western countries that have made it very clear that the police can vaccinate you, that they can force these untested, no ability to know what they're going to do in 2 years or 5 years, genetically engineered vaccines into your body. That's what'll come next. What'll come after that? Well, they won't want to do anything after that. Really? When do you say no to tyranny? When do you say no to tyrants? Is it a good thing to force people to ingest into their bodies substances that they in their conscience do not believe to be good for them? That they have absolutely firm and proper reason to say, this is not good for me. I am unconvinced in my conscience that this is safe. That's what's next. And once you collapse on that, all of your autonomy is done. And I mean autonomy in the good sense of liberty. Autonomy to do what's right before God, to act on the basis of his revelation. So the question is, how often has this subject been treated as part of the overall movement that we are observing? And how often has it been cut off and it's only this issue over here? It's just this masking issue. It's not about what the government's doing in any place else. We don't have to consider that. No, we do have to, if we're wise, consider, are these mandates part of an overall demand upon Christian people to compromise their principles in many areas? And that's where we've come down. That's where we've come down. I think time is going to demonstrate that we have only begun this process. We have only started in regards to this process.